What's happening, guys? Is Head of Decay getting you down? Well, it's time to do Hydra, guys. So I was thinking to myself, because I'm on the free to play, it's making me think more about the resources that I have on the main account, and I think, oh, this champion isn't good enough, that champion isn't good enough, War Chief, it doesn't cut the mustard. Best provoker in the game, but not good enough to bring along to Hydra. So I'm thinking more now with the lens of the free to play rather than the main account where we're spoiled for choice, So what we're going to do, what we're going to look at today is all of the provokers for Hydra. So for my team, if we're looking at this, we don't have many options at all. And Head of Decay is going to really just ruin your day. You're not going to be able to keep control of Hydra at all. He's the one that removes all the buffs, all the debuffs off your team. So that means that any decreased defense, weaken, decreased speed, decreased attack, block, buffs, all of that. You have it on, you're sitting pretty, you're ready to go and start taking numps out of Hydra. No, he's going to cleanse them all off. So we need provoke. Stop right there, guys. Click on the link below and get yourself a free Karato Fox Hunter, as well as 4 amazing epics. Here's the exact steps of what you need to do. Log out of Plarium Play on PC. Step 2, click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Step 3, launch raid and complete the tutorial. Step 4, go to your inbox and claim your first champ. Here we go. You'll find yourself Karato Fox Hunter, as well as Uugo, Rector, Drath, Tagoar and Mausoleum Mage as you progress through the game. That's it. It's that simple. Click on the link, follow those directions, and on with the video. So for my account, this is what we'd have, which actually for somebody 2 months into the game, that's not bad. It's not bad, but you can see they're not leveled up or anything. So what I thought I'd do today was go through who I think are kind of the best options for epic and one bonus rare provokers to stop the head of decay ruining your day. Okay, that rhyme was fully intended. I didn't say it was good, I just said it was fully intended. Right, so let's start at the start. So we're going to start with our AoE provokers. Okay, so AoE provokers are way more Hydra friendly. It means you can run auto. Okay, if you don't have AoE, you're single target, they're liable. Now, I think they have changed the AI recently and the provoker will target the Head of Decay, but I don't know how reliable. I have not tested that. So we're going to talk about the AoE epics first. So let's have a look at that. So the first one up is into the Wharf faction, and that is going to be none other than one of my own that I have on this account, and it's Rockbreaker. So Rockbreaker, he's a rather cool, tidy looking little champ, I have to say, with his little pot helm on him there. But on the A1, attacks, he's a very simple kit, but very effective as well. Attacks one enemy, increases this champion's defense by 4% each time this skill is used, and stacks up to 20%. Okay, so he gets a 20% bonus on that every time that's used, which is great because it has a 25% chance of decreasing damage inflicted on this champion by 50% each time he is attacked, which couples with a 75 booking to 100%. All of these are going to be 100%, guys. Okay, so I didn't list the guys that don't have 100%. All right, so Rockbreaker has an AoE 100% chance when booked on a 3-turn cooldown of placing provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. He also places a counterattack buff on him for 2 turns. So what you could do with this guy, and this has just come to me and I realized that I am an idiot. Do not be like that, be smarter. He can do his AoE provoke, land it on everybody, okay? He has then counterattack on himself, right? He has his buffs when he gets attacked, and he has his buff when he attacks, all right? What you could do is you can put him in stun set or something like that, which means that he's going to counterattack every time he gets hit, and he's going to stun. Now for Hydra, that won't work, but for if you put him in a provoke set, it might. Or you could put him in maybe a cursed set, and that would bring Hex to Hydra with you as well. So I'm going to build him out in stun set for the waves in Doom Tower, guys. I'm stuck on hard. Hell Hades has just cleared 70. I'm stuck on 2. And it's the way, the look of the draw, the champions you get. I need more CC. I don't have it at the minute, but Rockbreaker could be that answer for me to get me through those waves. So he is an AoE, the Dwarf Spirit Provoker, and he has a 100% chance when booked. Next up is a fantastic champion. This is a bit dodged though, but it is probably the best provoke in the list. So we're going for a Void champion, and that is a Void champion that is not in the Dark Elves. She's actually in... Is she in Undead Hordes or is she in Demon Spawn? She's in Demon Spawn. Of course I get it wrong. Is she? She could be in Knights Revenant, guys. No, she's here. We found her. It's okay. Umbral Enchantress is probably one of the... is the best epic provoker in the game. However, it comes with a downside. Now, she also brings AoE block buffs for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown with a 100% chance. Phenomenal skill. Absolutely phenomenal. A1 single target attack, but this is the one we're talking about here. She has an AoE 100% chance when booked of placing provoke for 2 turns on all enemies, which makes it incredibly good. For an epic to have that, there has to be a downside. So it places unkillable on her, which is great, but it also places a block active skills on her for 5 turns. And it cannot be resisted or blocked and cannot be removed. Now you can put her in Stone Skin and that will stop it, but it is on a long cooldown, but you do get it on the Head of Decay for 2 turns. So you can do a lot in those 2 turns if you have her at the start of the Hydra fight, or the start of any waves. You have her in Stone Skin, she can go first, get the 2-turn provoke out there, and then everybody else can do their thing, because you know you have 2 turns of the Head of Decay where he's not going to cleanse any of the heads, which is huge. Imagine then you get increased speed on you, decreased speed on them. You're going to get the most of that. You're going to get 3 or 4 turns out of your guys by the time he has 2 turns. So that's our second provoking champion, guys, and that is Umbral Enchantress, AoE 2-turn 100% provoke. The next one now is not one that we use very often, but has very good utility at times. Did I pull this champion? I thought I did, but I obviously didn't. It is Bergot the Malformed. Bergot, continuous heal on himself if he has a critical attack. On this, attacks all enemies. Has... Oh, I thought... Why is that not 100%? Okay, so he's not 100%, but it is an AoE. Booking to 50-60% of placing a provoke debuff for 2 turns. That's why I included him. So it is a 2-turn provoke and books down to 4-turn cooldown. So that's extremely good. You can get it up to 65% chance then with the mastery in the support tree, but you need to be aware that it's not going to be 100%. So it's not great from Bergot, but when it lands, it's going to be awesome. Okay, and also whenever he is attacked, heals all allies except him by 20% of the damage received. So that's kind of like a Vogot as well, guys. That's particularly good, and we never really talk about him at all. So very good passive there and very good AoE provoke. Next up we have Skuramus. Now Skuramus is he a dark elf or a high elf? He's one or the other, guys, and he must be in the high elves. I should have wrote these down before I done this, but sure, hey, what fun would that be? So he has the stun and turn meter deplete on the A1. He has AoE decrease duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn, and also has a chance of placing a 75% chance of placing a decrease attack. So 2 skills that are going to be really invaluable in Hydra: decrease attack and provoke, and also then fills his turn meter by 10% for each buff that has its duration decreased. So imagine Head of Mischief steals all your buffs, spreads them everywhere, he comes along and can remove a lot of them with that skill, place decrease attack on there, and then also potentially have his turn meter filled back up because of this. So that boosts to a 3-turn cooldown and could potentially go to a 2-turn cooldown because of this turn meter fill as well, guys, because he could get an instant turn. Now, the provoke is the bit that we were talking about as well. 75% chance of placing a provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn, okay? So then places a counterattack and a 15% continuous heal on him for 2 turns, all right? AoE provoke books to 100%, and that's on a 3-turn cooldown. The provoke only goes on for 1 turn, but a very, very effective champion. So you could go in with this one. You could go in, lead off with the provoke, then Head of Mischief in the meantime might steal some buffs off you and spread them. Then you can go in with this. You're going to get a fill back up. You're going to get decrease attack back on. This is all of a sudden back down to 1 turn. You hit them with this, and then your next turn you have to provoke again. And if you have your decreased speeds and all that out there, you could continuously have the Head of Decay provoked. So that's a really good champion, guys. If you have him early on, you're going to be doing really well. And actually, like, way better than I expected, especially when we look at some of the other provokers on here. He's very, very good. Very good indeed. Especially with the counterattack. We talked about Rockbreaker and being able to put him in other sets. We can do the same with Skiramis, but that decrease attack and provoke combo and the decreased duration of buffs is huge. Very good champion. Now, you can hear the voices going again already. So I do have one more of these champions, guys, and that is Seneschal, who is over here. And I have to say, I groaned loudly when I pulled Seneschal. And I'll show you why. He has a 30% chance, booking to 40% chance of placing a leech debuff. His damage is based on defense and attack. He places a perfect veil buff and a continuous heal buff on 1 ally for 2 turns on a 2-turn cooldown, which isn't the worst either. Then also, the voice is going, places a counterattack buff on himself for 2 turns and has a 50% chance of placing a provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. Now, does book up to a 100% chance, but it only books down to a 4-turn cooldown, okay? So for me, early game, he needs way too many books to make this reliable. It's a good skill and he is decent. He actually is decent. You need him booked for him to reach that potential. And by the time you have the books to spare to put in him, you probably have better places for him to go. But if you are stuck for a provoker, this guy can provoke and mischief tank, okay? As can Rockbreaker or Skiramis as well. They both have unique buffs that will go on that won't be on the rest of your team. Counterattack in all cases. So you can build them with high resistance and high accuracy, and they could function as your mischief tank and your provoker. And that's taking up 2 jobs that you need for your Hydra runs, okay? So he's good, but needs the books, and it's too many books early game to be investing for 1 section of the game, if you will, okay? Now, so we have, that's all the AoE, guys, okay? So we are on now to the single target. Now, the first one is a little bit of a cheat because he's not single target. He's a bit of a mix, right? He's a single and a random, all right? And that is none other than Duck. I'm gonna say Duck, the Pierced, okay? So very good champion. I really like him. I was kind of raging I pulled him as late as I did, because if I had pulled him earlier, I would have had him built up straight away. So decrease accuracy on the A1, decrease defense and decrease attack for 2 turns at 100% chance on a 3-turn cooldown on the A2, which is incredibly good. He has to be built with 100% crit rate though, because it's on critical hit. And then this is the provoke skill. So on a 4-turn cooldown, he can also, by the way, be a mischief tank, unkillable and reflect damage go on him. So he can be your mischief tank as well, right? So places a provoke debuff for 1 turn on the target enemy. So it's a single target. It will land on whatever enemy you click on, but also has a 75% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn on 2 random enemies as well. So for Hydra, you have a chance of it being almost AoE, okay? If you're playing full auto, you have better chance than if it was just a single target provoke, but not as good if it's 100 as if it was 100% AoE. The other thing though is it is at places a provoke, so it doesn't need to hit, so weak hits won't stop him with that as well. So I actually have to test that as well, guys. I have to make sure, I have to see if Poison Cloud stops it, because it is at places, and there's no hard and fast rule with that. There is what should happen, but it doesn't always, okay? Now we are on to the fully single target, guys. We're going to go to Lizardmen, and this is a free champion that has a 2-turn provoke, guys, okay? Extremely good 2-turn provoke with a 100% chance, and that is Jizzo. Attacks 2 times on the A1, gives a shield and a counter attack on an ally, and grants an extra turn on his A2, and then on the A3, which books down to a 4-turn cooldown, which kind of goes to a 3-turn cooldown with the extra turn on the A2, he has a 100% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 2 turns, which is incredibly good to keep the Head of Decay locked down. Now, does he bring anything else worthwhile is the thing. Not really. Now, you could put him in other gear and he could help you out there, but with this, he can make your highest resistance champion your mischief tank. So it can be him, maybe, or it can be whoever you designate if you keep on placing this on them, all right? So he makes any other champ a viable mischief tank. Now, but not full auto friendly. But a 2-turn provoke controlling the Head of Decay is huge, guys. So that's why Jizzo makes the list. He's incredibly good, albeit limited, okay? Now, we have another champion that's very good, but is quite limited as well. And that is none other than Balthus Druglord, which was one of my first pulls. I pulled him and, who's the other guy? He's in Demon Spawn. He's made up of a load of corpses and all that kind of thing. He's a reviver. I'll think of it in a second. Anyway, I always like the look of this guy. He's really cool with his glowing purple shields and the whole lot. He has an A1, 30% chance of placing a big decrease attack. On A2, decrease crit rate. Now, that's not really great in most places. It will help you out in Hydra because they have, I think it's like 15% chance to crit. If this is on them, they have a 0% chance of critting, okay? So you become more survivable. However, on Amius is the only boss in the game, I believe, that has a 50% chance to crit. So this on Amius is really valuable, and it is on an AoE. So that's just a tidbit, an aside, but this is the one we are looking for. Now, I built out Balthus Druglord on my main account thinking this was an AoE skill, because I am a dope. Not because I am dope, because I am a dope. 2 big differences there. Big difference. One's a good thing, one is a bad thing. But driven to slaughter, attacks 1 enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 2 turns, which books to a 100% chance on a 4-turn cooldown, and also heals him back up. So again, controlling that Head of Decay for 2 turns with this on, which is incredibly good and gives you the leeway then to get a real good head start on Hydra. That, a 2-turn provoke on the Head of Decay on certain runs on Hydra at the start of it is the difference between not getting your first chest and getting your first chest straight away. That's how good that is, okay? Now, also has a reflect 30% of the damage this champion receives back to the attacker. Not very good in Hydra, but against Fire Knight, that actually comes in handy every now and again because it's an inbuilt reflect damage. It's an extra hit and can help take the shield down. So that's Balthus Druglord. We have 1 more, and we've 1 more epic, and then we have a surprise rare that I didn't realize was as good as he is, and this is in the Shadowkin disc, guy. This is still the epic we're talking about. We're not talking about the rare yet, and we are talking about a Jurojin. I think Jurojin on my main account is my most fed champion. I have never built them. I've never used them. I've never done anything with him. But he is good at what he does, okay? So attacks 1 enemy, 45% chance, booking to 60 of placing a decrease attack debuff for 2 turns on an A1. That's pretty huge, guys. That's really, really good, okay? Then we have the one that we're talking about at the moment, places a provoke debuff for 1 turn on a 3-turn cooldown. Also places a shield on him for 2 turns equal to 25% of his max HP. And then if the target's max HP is equal to or lower than the champion's, the provoke cannot be resisted, okay? Now, for Hydra, that's obviously not going to come into play. We'd love to have it the other way around, that if the target's max HP is equal to or higher than this champion's, the provoke debuff cannot be resisted. And you know, you'd be laughing, but it's not. So, you know, why am I even talking about it? So, attacks 1 enemy, will ignore 25% of the target's defense, will also ignore unkillable and block damage buffs. So a nice little smack on the A3, but it is the A1 and the A2 that you are bringing him along for, and also will receive 25% less damage from enemies when this champion's HP drops below 50%, or 50% or below. Okay, so he's probably the least of the list, but we have to finish on a high. We have that 1 epic, and we started with the dwarves, guys, so we will finish with the dwarves, guys. And we are going to look at, well, we have to find dwarves first, so there we go. We are going to look at none other than Master Butcher. Now, this guy, Mr. Smiley, as I like to call him, he's gorgeous, isn't he? Look at that smile. Whoa, whoa. So, Master Butcher here is a very handsome fellow, and he is, I love how he has the spikes in his armor. That's for tenderizing the meat there, is it? He has attacks 1 enemy, 30% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn. But you're like, Dahi, 30% chance of provoke, what are you talking about, man? That's no good. However, on the A2, places a provoke debuff on the target enemy for 2 turns, places a 15% increased crit rate on all allies, and places a 25% increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns as well. And that's on a 4-turn cooldown. So he has a 2-turn provoke on a 4-turn cooldown and buffs your team. That's way better than some of the epics we talked about. That's amazing. And it is a places as well. It's not an attack, so that makes it better. Now, not only that, but this guy also has utility against Bommel as well, because of this. When attacked, heals all allies equal to the amount of damage taken. Does not work against bosses. However, Bommel's bombs are not bosses, so that's why this works, okay? Incredibly good skill. And then we have this, revives a random ally with full HP when he is killed. So even if he's the last in your team and then they wipe out him, he's going to revive, I think, the person in your number 1 spot, or your only Lego if you only have a Lego there. So that is Master, oh, that's Hatchet Slinger. That's Master Butcher, not to be overlooked. Incredibly good champion. Guys, let me know who I missed. I did miss one. I skipped over one, guys. This is actually my favorite. This is my favorite. Skinwalkers, Void. We are talking about Frenzy, okay? So Frenzy is, when you look at the Voids and Skinwalkers, they're pretty good. Basher, Kemptum, and Frenzy. Wergrin maybe lets it slide down a bit, but Frenzy is incredibly good. Not only does she bring an AoE 100% chance of placing Provoke, okay? Also places an increased defense buff on herself, and she is a defense champion, okay? She then also attacks 3 times at random and has a 100% chance of placing HP burn, and fills her turn meter by 10% for each HP burn placed by the skill. Now, when she attacks, then she can also activate the HP burn and increases her defense by 2% each time a HP burn debuff is activated on enemies, and stacks up to 20%. So her defense can stack really high, which is also her damage stat as well. So Frenzy is my number 1 for Hydra. If that was AoE instead of 3 times at random, she would be on lots of teams, guys. She's incredibly good. I really like her. And yeah, go use her. Go use all of these guys. Let me know what you think of that list. Let me know if I've missed anyone out, if there's any obvious choices I've overlooked, or any niche provokers. And yeah, there's loads of Legos there, but I think it's important to look at the epics as well. Guys, thanks for joining. Like and subscribe. Chat to you in the next one. Bye bye.